Is this a great game or what? With the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian, I am his son Jeff Kurkjian, and we are coming to you from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, the Little League World Series, thanks to our friends at GameChanger and Dick's Sporting Goods. We have been having such a blast here. It's magic here. It's Disney World for baseball. It's all of the above.
Right. It's just ludicrously charming here, Jeff. And these two stadiums back-to-back like this, and people just don't understand who've never been here what this place is like. Every single person who comes here for the first time says, it's way bigger than I thought it was. TV just doesn't do it justice. And the best part about this place are the people that you meet. And tell us what happened last night. We're walking the streets of Williamsport going to dinner.
And 4 gentlemen stop us. One guy says, I'm celebrating my 70th birthday. And the other 3 say, this is our Little League coach. We brought him to Williamsport because this is on his bucket list.
From Florida, Jeff.
From Florida. And now they say they're coming again next year. And listen, Dad, 2 years ago was my first time here. My daughter McKinley was just born. I went with my father-in-law, Alex, and I can't imagine having a summer without the Little League World Series being a part of it. You know what I mean? It's just it's such a part of my soul now.
Right, and it's the place, as Karl Ravech told us when we taped earlier today, and we're going to have Karl Ravech and Todd Frazier on the Thursday.
Pause. They are so good. So we recorded, just for all things, we just recorded with them, and you'll hear that episode on the feed tomorrow. Oh, my gosh.
It was
so many great laughs. It was so many great pins. I'm sorry. Please, unpause. Go ahead.
Right. It's so funny. But Ravi made the point. It's the place that makes it different. And if you've never been here, you don't even understand what we're talking about. But I spoke to the Northwest coach Sunday morning, Andy Audette, and I said, what was it like when you walked in here for the first time? And I swear to God, Jeff, he teared up and said, I cried out loud when I walked into this place for the first time. He said, the first night here, he said, I did not go to sleep. I couldn't sleep because all I wanted to do was soak in where I am right now. He said, the first night I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and went and sat in the stadium. The second night I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and sat in the stadium. And he said, and all my buddies, all adults now, called him and said, you are living our childhood dream right now. That's what this place is about.
There's nothing better than Little League. And I just can't begin to explain how happy I am to be sitting here with you today, because we are now a year and a half into this little podcast that we started. And it's so neat to be here where baseball is just at its best, doing our podcast together. And so tomorrow's episode, as we said, Todd Frazier, Karl Ravech will be right here at the GameChanger and Dick's Sporting Goods set up here in Williamsport, and you got to make sure. But we got a great episode for you today.
Right, and the best part is when the big leaguers come here, because most of the big leaguers have never been here before. So Sunday morning, I rode the bus with a bunch of kids and with the Seattle Mariners from the airport to the ballpark. And here, Cal Raleigh is surrounded by kids on the bus.
He must have been the one everybody wanted to see, right? There's always one player.
Julio Rodriguez is a magnet for little kids.
Really?
He runs all sorts of kid-friendly situations at home in the Dominican and everything else. So I interviewed him on the bus. You know how big he is. I said, what were you like when you were 12? And he goes, I was really big. That's how he explained it. So we had the greatest time on the bus. And
that reminds me of that movie. Was it Benchwarmers? When he had the he had a birth certificate, and it was just a picture of him, and in crayon it says, I am 12. That was his birth certificate.
Right, because there are kids here you're not sure about. But Cal Raleigh was on the bus, and he did so many good things here. So I saw the Northwest team play in the morning, and their second baseman's nickname was Little Dumper, right? So Cal, of course, is Big Dumper. He's Little Dumper. So the second baseman and the shortstop on the Northwest team interviewed Cal Raleigh at 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Like, what a thrill for those kids. And Cal Raleigh also did one of the coolest things I've ever seen, Jeff. He and his girlfriend decided to get a picture, like a baseball card picture, of all the coaches and players on the Mariners. He had the traveling secretary run all this stuff down, and he took all the pictures and put them on his chest protector, which he wore in the Little League classic game.
What?
It's one of the coolest things I have ever seen. He said, we sent it to Rawlings, and they took care of everything else.
Wow.
So imagine that. So here we've got these decorative bats and decorative shoes and nicknames, Players Weekend and everything else. He came up with a chest protector that looked like a gigantic baseball card with dozens of players on it. It was like the coolest thing.
You know, Dad, and the creativity from the players to the fans who are here at Williamsport, you see people designing their own pins, creating their own shirts. I see people with printed fan shirts. There's teams where all of the moms are wearing tutus or whatever. It's like Halloween. It's like Disney. It's everything. So if you are like the gentleman we met in downtown Williamsport last night or whatever it is, and you've been thinking, man, we really need to get out there, you just need to do it. We've told this story before. You'll hear it again tomorrow. My father-in-law, he went to Williamsport for the first time at age 68, and it was like he was 8 when he walked in here because he felt like a kid. He grew up watching these games. He never missed any of these games on TV.
Right, and the Major League players get involved as soon as they get here.
Yep.
A bunch of the Mets went down the hill. In fact, Carlos Mendoza, the manager of the Mets, is being interviewed on ESPN. He's got the headset on, and they show a picture of Jeff McNeil and Brandon Nimmo, 2 of his players, going down the hill on a piece of cardboard. And he said, oh, my gosh, thank God they didn't get hurt. I asked Jeff McNeil, what was that like? And he goes, I was scared. I was really going fast.
Well, you've gone down the hill.
I went down the hill once at age 55. I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of widths. I'm afraid of anything that goes too fast. And I was happy to get to the bottom of the hill alive. I told you that story. I'm at the top of the hill. I'm 55 years old, and I don't know how to do this, and I'm literally afraid. So I look at this kid next to me, and he says to me, he says, I'll show you how to do this. So I look at him and I said, how old are you? And he said, I'm 4. A 4-year-old showed me how to get on a piece of cardboard and go down the hill without getting hurt.
Was that the first year you were covering Little League World Series?
Yes.
And so they said, Tim, we need to...
Rite of passage.
Right.
You have to do that.
So
right.
I did that a couple of years ago. Now, last year, if you remember and you listened to our episode from last year, my father-in-law came again with us, but also my nephew, Ben, who is on, one of my brother-in-laws on my wife's side, their son, was in town and came with us. And he went down the hill, I'm not exaggerating, 1,000 times. My father-in-law only wanted to go down once, right? And I thought he was going to tear both ACLs. And I said, what am I going to tell your wife, my mother-in-law, when you tear both? And I have to tell this story. It's unrelated to Williamsport, but my father-in-law is such a strong-minded, smart man, loving, caring, everything. When I first met him, Emily had bought a condo. We were tearing the tile out of the condo. This was 1 month into knowing my now wife, right? So I offered to go after work, morning show radio every day to go chip some tile. Well, he had just had shoulder reconstructive bicep surgery or something. We had this giant tile chipper. And I said, I'll handle this, don't worry, because he's in a sling. And he said, no. And then my mother-in-law looks at me and goes, don't let my husband use that thing. Do not let him use it. I've known this man for 1 week. I've dated his daughter for 1 month. And I'm thinking, of course, yes, ma'am, of course. And then she leaves, and I said, there's no effing way I'm telling him what to do. Yeah. And, of course, what happens, Dad? He takes it over, and a tile comes off and hits his nose. No. And he's spurting blood out of his nose.
Oh, my gosh.
And then he looks at me and goes, don't tell my wife. Ultimately, of course, now it's one of our favorite stories of all time. But my point of this is it's about family, right? Taking your family to Williamsport is by far the best decision you'll ever make. I mean, just in moments, Dad, this village, which is a part of Williamsport we don't talk a lot about, this village is going to open up with all of these amazing, including the GameChanger and Dick's Sporting Goods area. There's batting cages, there's pin trading, there's swag, there's helmets, there's bats. This whole thing is a part of it.
Right. It's so good. And again, the players loved it so much. So I asked a couple of the Mariners, I said, did you go down the hill? And Dylan Moore said, no, I didn't go down the hill. It's an infielder, Dylan Moore, good player. And he said, I played wiffle ball, and 10 of the Japanese kids struck me out. So they struck him out playing wiffle ball. And then Mitch Garver, also of the Mariners, he said, I played wiffle ball with the Japanese kids also. He said, but I was throwing to them, and they kept saying to me, throw it harder, throw it harder. And he said, so I'm throwing it as hard as I can, and they're still hitting me. So we got a really good look into how good the players are, and that, that chemistry between the big leaguers and the little leaguers is just priceless. The last thing, Jeff, and this just absolutely astonished me. I was at the batting cage yesterday, and Starling Marte of the Mets, I'm talking to him, and he looks at me and he goes, you're on TV. I think he's saying, hey, you're on TV. Yes, I know. Yeah. I've had more hits than Ty Cobb the last 28 years. Hardly the point.
Television hits.
Here's what he said. He said he had a camera in his sunglasses. Have you ever heard of that? So he's got a Facebook, Instagram thing going on with the tiniest little camera.
It's actually accurate. You're right on this.
In his sunglasses. I don't even know how to use my cell phone, and he's got a camera in his glasses.
Meta is you're oddly really accurate with what you're saying here. Meta, right, Joe? We're gonna bring our producer Joe in a second. Meta has a relationship with Ray-Ban, who makes sunglasses, where they put a camera in your sunglasses so you can post your Instagram story or your Facebook or whatever. I mean, listen, we just bought a new camera for this, but I didn't buy any sunglasses with cameras in them, trust me.
Unbelievable.
Although we need to do that. But speaking of our producer, let's bring Joe Puccio in. He is our producer for the day. All right, now that sounds like a contest. It's not. We're paying him to be here. Don't worry. Joe is one of the play-by-play broadcasters for the Somerset Patriots, AA affiliate of the New York Yankees. But you're also in between your sister's wedding and a 6-game homestand. Drove from New Jersey in order to be here to help us out with our podcast. So first of all, thank you because Joe, we've said it on multiple episodes for the last couple of weeks. We need some help.
Hey, that's why I'm here. The young arm ready.
He's managing all the audio and the video portions of this so I can focus on what we're doing.
How about Joe's voice? Joe's voice is better than yours and my voice together. He's only 23 years old. Where did your voice come from? It's great.
It's not as iconic as yours. That is for sure.
Yeah, and iconic doesn't always mean great. It just means well-known. I love
annoying,
you.
Right, I know that.
Isn't it nice to have a man's voice on the show, right?
Exactly, an adult's voice on the show, absolutely.
I don't know how it happened.
Joe, just really quick, out of fun, just give us your home run call. Just give us a back on, okay.
We get a little, that ball is gone!
Yeah,
something like that.
There you go.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, so, Joe, we're bringing...
I get up there.
You got it.
I get up there.
You got to have the range.
You
got to have the range. So Joe used to call games by himself, single A in Florida for the Detroit Tigers, and boy, oh boy. I mean, talk about a test of patience and skill to call games in single A by yourself. God bless you. But we brought you in especially because you didn't have an opportunity to play like everybody wanted to at 12 years old for the Little League World Series, but you went to camp here at Williamsport and stayed in the barracks where our teams stay when they come from all across the world to play. What was that experience like?
It was special. It was back in 2014, so I was 12. I was the same age as the players here, and we had the whole Little League experience. So we stayed in the dorms. We had recreation time, so we could play ping pong, we could swim, just like these kids do every single day. And how our daily schedule worked was in the morning around 8 o'clock, we would wake up and do drills on the backfields. And then after lunch and our rec time, we'd have games on both Lomity and Volunteer Stadium.
Wow.
And for me, that was a dream. Like, as you mentioned, everyone dreams of playing here at the Little League World Series. And I think the closest my team ever got was one win in the city tournament. We didn't even make districts. So the opportunity to play on these fields was so special. And then to stay where the teams get to stay, it's so interesting because I don't know if it's still done this way, but it was done in the past where we stayed in an international dorm. So we stayed in Team Europe and Africa's dorm.
Wow.
And it's connected with a U.S. region. So the U.S. region that was connected to ours was the Southwest. So think about that. You have an international team that lives in a pretty much same exact bunker as an American team. You're sharing bathrooms, you're sharing sinks, you're sharing front doors. These kids get to interact with people that they would never get to interact with And we've seen it in episodes of this podcast. We've seen it while we're here in Williamsport. The interaction and the lifelong friendships that you make are everything. And there are still friendships that still go on from that baseball camp. Just 1 week of playing here, I still remember a couple of the kids that were on my team and the special week that we had here.
What was it like playing on a field manicured quite like that one?
I don't think I've ever played on a field better than that.
Right.
I mean, I've been on Yankee Stadium's field. I've been at Tropicana Field. There was nothing like seeing Lamade Stadium for the first time. And I remember we walked through one of the doors that's not a section door, but it's one of the sneaky doors that the players go in. And I remember seeing the batting cages, and there's bullpens. I was like, bullpens and batting cages for 12-year-olds? Like, what is this, big leagues? And we then got to go through the camera well, the iconic camera well behind home plate, and I remember seeing the Lamade bust right out in center field, and I was like, this is everything to me. Even seeing the back-painted trapezoid where the catcher is, like, no other field has that besides this one. And it was a chilling effect. You've talked about this, the mountains and the hill and the scoreboard in center field. It was beautiful. And then we get on the field itself. It was more comfortable than the beds that we were sleeping on. That grass is so soft, and every ground ball was coming up true. I felt like a big leaguer, not even a little leaguer playing on.
And you got a hit at Lamade Stadium.
1 for 3. I will never forget it.
What was it?
It was a single down the right field line.
Right.
And my
what was
dad.
The count? Do you remember?
I think I was up. It was hitter's count. It was 1-0, of course. I took the first pitch.
Were you a righty or a lefty?
I'm a righty.
You're a righty.
So my dad was my little league coach, and he always said I had the Jeter inside-out swing. Jeter was my favorite player. I emulated everything he did, and I guess I was late on every pitch. So I would shoot everything the opposite way, get my hands out in front a little bit, and I remember going to the first base coach, who was our counselor, and I said, man, I just got a hit at Lamade Stadium. I'm never going to forget that for the rest of my life.
Joe, all kidding aside, I say this every time I do a game here. Those kids are going to go home and say, I got a hit at the Little League World Series. How cool would you would be able to say that for the rest of your life. That's the best part about this.
Right. And I got to do it at a baseball camp,
right.
And I still have that same feeling.
Right.
It's special.
So great.
Joe Puccio, everybody. Excellent. Thank you for helping us out.
Of course.
We have a lot more to talk about here at the Little League World Series. Dad, we're going to do our Quirkjians. We got Game Changer of the Week. You have a Team Tim for us, right?
Yeah. Do we have to pay Joe extra because he came on camera? Or
yeah. Now we have to pay him.
Please.
We have to pay him the union fee because he's now talent, not just producer. So.
And there's no makeup fee, so at least that'll be a little cheaper for you guys.
No makeup between these three guys. But you can watch us on YouTube. But we just might not advise it. Joe, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
Okay.
Is this a great game or what? Welcome back. And with the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian, I'm Jeff Kurkjian. We are at Williamsport, Pennsylvania for the Little League World Series presented by Game Changer and Dick's Sporting Goods, Dad. And this so perfectly brings us to the Game Changer of the Week.
Right. So I'm taking the Milwaukee Brewers as the Game Changer, Jeff, for this reason. I have looked at who's the best team in baseball all year, and it changes like every single week. It was the Tigers, it was the Yankees, it was the Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, all over the place. But for the last couple of months, I think it's been the Milwaukee Brewers. They just had their 14-game winning streak ended on Sunday, but there is something really special going on with the Brewers right now.
No doubt.
Again, they've only been to the World Series one time, 1982, the first year that I covered the World Series for a newspaper, and now I think they have a legitimate chance to go back. And I just love. I'm not rooting for anybody or anything except for the story, but that ballpark is packed every night. The way that team plays the game is so much fun. So they're the game changer for me because they're changing the way that people play the game. They put the ball in play. They work deep counts. They fight you on every single pitch. They bunt. They steal more bases than any team in the National League. They get big hits at big times. They got really good starting pitching. If more teams played the game the way the Brewers did, more teams would win more games. That's how good a thing they have going in Milwaukee right now.
And, Dad, I know, and the reason why you say you can't root for anybody is because you've been a journalist. You're a Hall of Fame journalist, but I can root for people, and I love the Brewers because because I love stories. Franchises never won a World Series. It would be great to have them. Their fans are starving for it, but their fans are great fans. And listen, I love so many organizations, but I'm a Northeast. I grew up in Maryland. I live in Pennsylvania. I went to school in New York. There's a difference between Midwestern fans and East Coast fans. And those Midwest fans, man, they are just salt of the earth, good people. I lived in Cleveland for a long time, and those guys they just love their team. They love baseball. So I'd love to see the Brewers make a run.
Right. Totally agree.
All right, Dad, do you want to go into a Team Tim or Quirkjians?
We're going to do the Quirkjians first because a couple people sent this into, is this a great game or what? We had a Jesus Luzardo started
yes.
against Brad Lord the other night. So this guy writes in, he goes, Tim, I think we need the all-religion team. So now we're taking requests on Team Tim. So I'm doing the best I can
Let's say a quick prayer before we do this. All right, good.
That's a prayer that I did this right. All right, Christian Vasquez is the catcher.
Perfect.
Abraham Toro is the first baseman.
Yeah.
Johnny Priest, had to look that one up, is the second baseman. Jose Pagan, also pronounced Pagan, is the third baseman. Angel Baroa is the shortstop. Jesus Alou is one outfielder. Dan, what was the Dan Patrick story he told us last year?
Well, Dan Patrick grew up, and Jesus Alou was on his favorite team, and he would say, Dad, I can't wait to go to the game. I want to see Jesus.
Jesus Alou, and then they would go to church.
No, it's Jesus,
right.
And then he would go, all right, praise Jesus. No, that one's Jesus.
Right. We had a little trouble with that. Dave Pope is one outfielder.
That's a good one.
And Ryan Church is the last outfielder. Randy St. Clair is our relief pitcher. And the aforementioned Brad Lord is our pitcher. So that's the all-religion team, and I did that as a request to one of our listeners.
Well, and also, Dad, is the Pope throwing out the first pitch as a Chicago White Sox fan? I mean, he kind of has to be, right?
How great is that? A White Sox fan is Pope. Leo is a White Sox fan. Can't get any better than that. Speaking of, so I got a text from my former sports editor, Marty Kaiser from the Baltimore Sun, and he had gone to a Giants game, and he recognized in doing all the stats that Patrick Bailey of the Giants, at that moment of the game, had struck out exactly 100 times for 3 straight seasons. So I looked it up on Baseball Reference. It just jumps out of the page. 100 strikeouts 2 years ago, 100 strikeouts last year, and this year 100 strikeouts. And
wait, you're saying, and he did it on the same...
No. He ended the last 2 seasons with exactly 100.
Wow.
And when Marty looked it up, he had exactly 100 this year. He has more than that, of course. So I looked up, he's the only player in Major League history ever to strike out exactly 100 times in 2 consecutive seasons. So that was a request from my old sports editor who said this is something you would have written in the Baltimore Sun in your Sunday Notes column in the mid-'80s. So I checked it out for him, and we gave a shout-out to Marty Kaiser.
You know, even though we're a team of 2 and now slightly a team of 3 with Joe Puccio, even though we can't pay Somerset Patriots money, so we can't take them away from that gig. But we joke, but you've got Frank from the Alliance, you've got old editors calling in with stuff, so we have a lot of people working behind the scenes.
And they're helping us every step of the way. So Clayton Kershaw became the all-time strikeout leader against the Padres. So no one has struck out more Padres in the Padres' history than Clayton Kershaw. So that's the 3rd team now that he owns the strikeout record.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, so Cy Young also had 3. Warren Spahn has 3 teams that he's the all-time strikeout leader against. Steve Carlton had 5, and guess who has 7 teams that he's the all-time strikeout? Walter Johnson. And Joe, where did Pop go to school? Walter Johnson High School in Bethesda, Maryland. We have to mention that on every single show. Agreed?
Can we also mention that you got Todd Frazier a Walter Johnson sweatshirt? Is that correct?
Yes. It's a fleece pullover, and I wore it here to the Little League World Series last year, and he said, I got to have one of those. So I after the World Series, I went home. I went to Walter Johnson High School. I ordered a WJ, and they only had one left. They said, sorry, it's an extra large. I'm like like a small. Right. So I said, no, that's exactly what we need. So I bought it and sent it to Todd.
You went to the high school.
I did.
You don't have a guy on the inside now with your Walter.
I didn't
This
know.
just goes to show 68, soon to be 69 in December. He goes to his alma mater. Did you walk in during the school day to buy it?
I called down there and said,
good. Okay.
can I come down? Do you have any sweatshirts? And they said, yes, we do. And I went down and picked it up because I wasn't risking making a mistake.
I wonder if they give an alumni discount. It doesn't sound as good as Quinn's Orchard High School swag, which is my alma mater. But.
So good. All right. So Nick Fortes for the Rays didn't start the game the other day. Came in, took 2 at-bats, and got hit by a pitch twice. So I found that odd. He didn't start the game. He comes in, gets 2 at-bats, gets hit by a pitch each time. Last time any player did that was, Roger Bernardina in 2014. So it's been 11 years since anybody did that. Sam Basallo made his first Major League plate appearance on Sunday. Great young prospect for the Orioles, catcher. And he got a hit by a pitch in his first plate appearance of his Major League career. So I asked Frank from the Alliance today, when's the last time that happened? To my surprise, it happened this year. Edgar Quero of the White Sox, same thing happened to him. So Ryan Ripken, our friend who was on the podcast, sent that out on Twitter. Anybody know the last guy to get hit by a pitch in his first Major League plate appearance? It's Edward Quero from the White Sox on April 17th of this year.
I mean, listen, I feel like the dugout would be screaming. Any way to get on base in your first Major League at-bat.
Just get
Wear it, do it for the team, and get on base.
And speaking of the Orioles, Brandon Young, one of their young pitchers, who's a very good young pitcher, he went into Friday night's game with an 0-6 record, Jeff, and a 6.70 ERA, and he was perfect for 7 2/3 innings in that game. So he's never won a Major League game. This is his rookie year, and he went 7 2/3 perfect. And he also had, not in this game, but he had an immaculate inning in the Major Leagues before he ever won a game. Do you find that odd?
It's
so
fascinating.
before he won a game, he had an immaculate inning, and he had 7 2/3 of perfect baseball.
2 different games.
2 different games.
Worth noting.
Yes. So I checked with Frank, and the best we could come up with is that in 2010, Travis Wood pitched, had never won a Major League game, and did pitch 7 2/3 perfect innings, having never won a Major League game before that. So these things happen. And last thing in the game last night, the Mets, Francisco Lindor got caught stealing. So the Mets had 39 consecutive successful steal attempts. 39 straight times they tried to steal. They made it. The record is 40. And since they got caught last night, the record is still 40 by the Red Sox over 2 seasons about 15 years ago.
I reached out to Frank from the Elias, Dad, because I thought I was on the heels of something groundbreaking. And I said, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this, Frank, because I'm not.
You called Frank from the
I emailed him.
Without telling me?
Without telling you.
Oh,
and I said, I don't know if this is contractual. Now, it was, as you've said, and you've said probably 50% of the time, he says, no, Tim, there's not really, this has happened more often.
Right.
And maybe it was silly, but we had an email from a member of our family who said that he's family friends with a guy who had a cup of tea in the majors. He only hit 1 home run, and it was off of a eventual Hall of Fame pitcher. So it just got me thinking, okay, how many players have hit 1 home run of their entire career, and it happened to be off of a Hall of Fame pitcher? Well, ultimately, that's happened a number of times.
Right.
And so it wasn't really a factoid, but Frank did say, hey, you can totally reach out if we can get one over on your dad, but not this time. I didn't get one over.
Well, I'm proud of you for calling Frank, and Frank is the best, and I'm glad he responded, and we learned something. I wouldn't have said there were a lot of people who hit 1 career homer and it came off a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he said there's more occurrences than you would think. And I mean, I think it makes sense too, because a lot of Hall of Fame pitchers, the reason why they're Hall of Fame pitchers is they pitch 10 plus seasons, and they probably faced a lot of rookies in that time.
Right.
All right, Dad, this date in baseball history, where do you want to go?
So in 1951, Eddie Goodell
Love him.
He took his only plate appearance, 4-pitch walk against Bob Kane. Bill Veeck was the owner of the team, and just to get people more interested in baseball, Eddie Goodell was 3 foot 6 inches tall, and he was using a plastic bat and crouching down, so he drew a walk. And after the game, they said, "All right, you're not allowed to do that anymore." But that was Eddie Goodell, 1951 on this day.
Wow. Gosh.
Right. In 1960, on this date, Ron Darling was born, and we mentioned that in part because Ron Darling was one of our guests this year on the podcast.
Listen, anytime we can get a guest birthday out there, and go back and listen to that episode with Ron Darling, because that was such a fun one. And Dad was so excited, like a child, to put on his Hawaiian shirt for Ron Darling.
Right. And remember what I told him. I said, Ron, you do notice that I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I know it looks ridiculous. And he goes, it's not for everyone, Tim. Right. That was his nice way of saying that. All right. Also born on this date in 1982 was J.J. Hardy, really good shortstop for the Brewers, Twins, and Orioles. So I'll never forget, J.J. Hardy was the best ping pong player on the Orioles because his dad, of course, was a professional tennis player. His mom was an LPGA tour golfer, and he's one of the best defensive shortstops I've ever seen. Tremendous hands, which makes him a great ping pong player. So I once asked him, who's second best on the team? And he said, Brady Anderson, second best. Brady was a coach at the time. I said, how many games in a row did you beat Brady? And he said, I beat him 88 straight games. And he's the second best. But somehow Jason Hamill of One Spring Training beat J.J. Hardy in ping pong. And 10 minutes after the game was over, J.J. Hardy got a text from Ryan Braun of the Brewers, who is training in Arizona. And the text read, I understand you lost at ping pong. And J.J. Hardy looks at me, he goes, news travels fast when I lose at ping pong.
Wow.
Ping pong, of course, is a staple game that are played in Major League clubhouses. And, of course, here, too, at the Little League World Series.
Yeah, we're going to talk. Todd Frazier is actually going to talk a little bit about the ping pong games he played when he played here and won the Little League World Series when he was a kid. I mean, he is like royalty around these parks, absolutely.
And last one, Jeff, and it's a sad one. On this date in 2021, Bill Freehan died. Bill Freehan is one of the great defensive catchers ever. He's a very underrated catcher in baseball history. I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer. And this isn't going to show up unless you can see this, Jeff.
You can watch on YouTube at Great Game or What.
He used to have his catcher's mitt that would expose his entire palm here.
What?
Yes. So instead of wearing the catcher's mitt all the way up his hand to protect it, he would have most of his palm exposed because that way he could manipulate his catcher's mitt with his fingers and made it a softer catch for him, meaning
less of his hand is in the mitt.
Right, and he could manipulate the ball and the mitt better, which I always thought was fascinating. Mike Matheny, former Major League catcher, former Major League manager, learned at the University of Michigan from Bill Freehan, and that's how he caught with most of his palm exposed. You are asking for danger there, but that's what he did.
That sounds like something more like an Omar Vizquel type shortstop would do, not someone catching 98 mile per hour fastballs.
Right. So in 1968, Denny McClain of the Tigers won the MVP, and second in the MVP voting that year was Bill Freehan. It's the only year in Major League history where a pitcher won the MVP and his catcher finished second.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That's really neat. I mean, we could see a catcher MVP this year with Cal Raleigh. That would be really cool. And they were here for the Little League World Series, the Little League game, which was so much fun to watch on ESPN, Dad. And there was a rain delay before that game. And you guys were just like riffing it off on ESPN, treading water. You were moving sets.
There was a tarp over our head at one point to make sure that we and the equipment didn't get absolutely soaked. It was totally insane, but we did the show. We got it.
But isn't that so Little League, right? That's so like, oh, we'll do what we can. The show must go on. That's the magic of this place. So speaking of Little League, Dad, we already did one team, Tim, but we're going to do two because we have so many people who love these. You can always, we just set up, this is big news, we just set up my dad with messaging capabilities with our website, greatgameorwhat.com. So you can be messaging with me or him. Most of the messages, Dad, start with, Jeff, I'm sure it's you who's reading this.
Joe,
no, it's both of us.
I didn't set it up. Jeffrey set it up for me, as you can imagine. But
and naturally, right after, I then reorganized all of his apps. Dad, you had 3 clock apps on your iPhone. I didn't even know you could have multiple iterations of the same app.
Right.
Dad, I didn't even know. I mean, you doing things with your iPhone I didn't even know were possible. So we organized that, and it's a whole lot better
And
now.
what else did you give to me today?
What did I get? Oh, your watch. My dad left his watch in our guest room, and actually, Dad, it was McKinley, 2 years old, who found it because we were playing hide and seek upstairs,
Right.
and she crawled under the bed, and there's your watch hiding underneath the bed.
I went 3 weeks without a watch. I can tell you, it's great comfort having it back on my left wrist right now.
Well, I won't make you get Meta Ray-Ban glasses, but Joe Puccio and I, I'm noticing we both rocking black Apple Watches, and one day I'll get you on it. It tracks everything. It can track your steps. It can do anything you want.
Does it tell you what the time is? Because that's what a watch is supposed to do.
That was his first question. He's asked me, does that thing Dad, you sound like 168, not just 68.
All right. I'm sorry. Okay,
now, let's wrap it up with our Little League World Series team,
all right,
Tim.
now, these are all the major, these are not all of them. These are one per position of major leaguers who played in the Little League World Series. Our catcher is Jason Varitek. Boog Powell, very underrated first baseman.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Scope, really, really good for the Tigers and Orioles and others. And who's our third baseman, Jeff?
Todd Frazier.
Of course, Todd Frazier. Jerkson Profar is here, and his brothers also played in the Little League World Series, so they had it well represented.
In different years?
Yes, different years.
Oh,
yes.
Could you imagine that for mom and dad?
Yeah,
like the
how about
oldest
that?
makes it, and you're like, I don't know if this will ever happen again, and then
Right.
the next one, and the next one.
I left out some really good outfielders like Michael Conforto, but I went with Jason Bay,
Yep.
Cody Bellinger,
Yep.
and Gary Sheffield, who just dominated. I have Lloyd McClendon as the catcher, as the designated hitter, in part because I think Lloyd McClendon had 5 at-bats in one game and hit 5 home runs. I mean, he just completely dominated the whole thing. Rick Wise is one of the pitchers. Rick Wise, Jeff, is the guy who pitched a no-hitter in the major leagues and hit 2 homers in the same game. Think about that for a second. Wilson Alvarez also pitched a no-hitter. Ed Vosberg is our relief pitcher. And our manager is Dan Wilson, who was here on Sunday with the Seattle Mariners. I didn't put him as our catcher because I had Jason Varitek, but I had to get him on the team as our manager. So that's the all Little League World Series team.
So we recorded with Todd. We recorded with Karl Ravech, a double guest for tomorrow on the feed. So wherever you're listening right now, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit follow. And go to the other apps too. If you don't watch us on YouTube, do it. I mean, we got this brand new camera that I'm really excited to work with. So you can see the whole podcast. You can see our setup. We cannot thank Dick's Sporting Goods and GameChanger enough, Dad, for having us here for year number 2. And I'm telling you, GameChanger is the ultimate place to bring your Little League team. It's free for teams to use. It's just mom and dad and grandma and grandpa that have to sign up for it. But the teams, they'll send you out cameras if you buy one of their packages. GameChanger is fantastic. We love pairing up with them. And Dad, you were pairing up with Dick's Sporting Goods last week for the Little League World Series documentary, which is available on ESPN+. You can check it out there as well. Well, it makes me sad to close out today's episode, but tomorrow's episode is going to be great too.
Right. And Jeff, remember what you said. We're going to interview Karl Ravech and Todd Frazier, and I objected to the word interview. That was not an interview, was it?
No, that's
what
heavy
was
air
that?
quote.
It was a 4-man.
A smorgasbord. It
Right.
was laughter.
It was total nonsense, but it was
Nonsense.
beautiful because it was Ravi and Todd talking about being, and you and I being in this magical place at this magical time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Joe Puccio for joining us and for being our producer, the first producer of Is This a Great Game or What, besides yours truly. So it really, really allowed me to relax and enjoy myself a little bit more. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, GameChanger. Thank you, Dick's Sporting Goods, Little League World Series. And don't miss Karl Ravech and Todd Frazier on the podcast tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, thank you for being a part of our family.